The rand was a little firmer today with the improved risk sentiment prevalent in the markets yesterday beginning to fade, and the rand gained as much as 3% at one stage yesterday amid signs that the coronavirus may have peaked in some of the hardest hit countries such as Italy and Spain. And to get to know how the markets have been trading and analysis on other issues happening in and around the world, we are joined by Ricus Reeder, who is wealth manager at PSD. Ricus, good afternoon. How has the JSE been like? And tell us about the rand. How is it now at the close?
Well, Colin, the rand, for one thing, has been the steady one. It's trading at 18 rand and 18 cents to the dollar, and that's basically where it was at about 7 o'clock this morning. So nothing has happened there. The stock market, on the other hand, has been through its usual daily volatile movements that we've got used to over the past couple of weeks. It opened down about 1.7%, and when the Americans opened about an hour ago, we took another little tumble, and the all share at the moment is down by just over 2%.
All right, so South Africans have been asking about the program of the Reserve Bank to buy more than 1 billion rand in government debt. And some people wanted to know, what does that mean?
Well, the Reserve Bank says, first of all, that it's not quantitative easing, which is what a lot of countries have been doing. And it's called quantitative easing because basically countries that do such a program want to push up inflation and give the economy or their economies a bit of a jump start. The Reserve Bank program, on the other hand, is just a way to give liquidity into the market. And if I can put it very, very, very crudely, because there is a rush from investors and companies into cash. Cash is that cash costs money, and that pushes up interest rate. And what the Reserve Bank is doing is supplying that cash in order to relieve that pressure in the short term. So it's a way of, shall we say, oiling the financial system rather than any program of boosting the economy or trying to control inflation or to affect the currency for that matter.
Right, so looking at another sector of the economy, the mining industry needs to get back to work at the end of the 21-day lockdown, or it could be, dealt a permanent blow. But then if it doesn't happen, what will really happen to the South African economy going forward? Because there are projected losses and negative outlook of the economy under general.
I think the easy way to put that is by just putting it to you that 450,000 people depend on mining just for their jobs, and never mind the people that depend on those that work in the mining industry, which is why it is very important to try and get that sector running up as quickly as possible, but without taking the risk that by starting mining again, you actually make the problem worse before this pandemic is really under control, specifically locally. But I see the Mining Council does project that just the 3-week shutdown in April is going to reduce their output by something like 20%. And even if and let's say we start going back to normal operations in a week's time, our mining production is still going to be down about 4.5%. And that's a huge part, not only for those people who work in the industry, but obviously also of the country's means of production and earning income.
So what do you make out of Eskom saying that it doesn't need help from government despite losses in revenue? And I mean, like looking at what the SOE had said last year, that it was projecting to post a loss of more than 20 billion rand.
Well, at the moment, and this is unconfirmed, but in a meeting they had, they said that the lifeline that was given to them earlier this year together with what they will be able to get in the market itself by selling bonds and that kind of thing, should enable them to have enough money for this year to basically paying, apart from their normal operations, also paying down some of their debt obligations. Obviously, that also hangs on how long this lockdown and, shall we say, the measures after the lockdown, how that will influence their operations, because at the moment they do have a loss of revenue, basically because industry and production has come to a halt throughout the country, apart from essential services.
Right. Now, Ricus, I want us to look at the global practice that is prevalent at the moment. I mean, like, if you have CEOs taking pay cuts, I mean, British lender Barclays says that the leadership will be taking pay cuts over the next 6 months. So then in South Africa, looking at corporate South Africa and the general, don't you think that it's about time that executives should step up to the plate and say, we're going to do likewise so that we can ease, the problem that, South African citizens find themselves in, especially the employees who are going to be hard hit?
It's a good start, and some companies have done so already. I think yesterday afternoon, technology company EOH reduced, or the executives reduced their income by about 25%. I think, or SAPI a little bit earlier this afternoon had the same kind of measures. The Reserve Bank has, or at least oh gosh, I forgot their name, but let's call it the Reserve Bank has suggested to banks that no bonuses should be paid for executives. We're not talking about the guys on the ground and your normal labor force. So in that sense, I think it's not merely a gesture, but if a company wants to survive, and by its very nature it needs people that to work for that company, and in order to survive and retain a workforce to actually do something after this crisis has passed, it's a very good idea to cut expenses, not only as far as your production is concerned, but certainly where it counts as well, which is your executive.
Right. Ricus, thank you very much for the market update there. He is wealth manager at PSG, talking to us about the current developments in the market in and around the world and countrywide. We're going to take a break, and when we return, we continue with the program. Stay with us.